Present simple. I drive to work every day. You drive too fast on the highway. He drives a sports car. She drives her kids to school. It drives me crazy when people don't use turn signals. We drive to the beach every summer. They drive a pickup truck. Present continuous. I am driving to work right now. You are always driving me crazy. He is driving his girlfriend to the airport. She is driving a bus full of passengers. It is driving me nuts that the traffic is so slow. We are driving to the concert tonight. They are driving home from vacation. Present perfect. I have driven this route before. You have driven this car for years. He has driven across the country. She has driven a race car. It has driven me to distraction. We have driven in bad weather before. They have driven on this road many times. Present perfect continuous. I have been driving for hours. You have been driving since early this morning. He has been driving non-stop. She has been driving for her job. It has been driving me crazy all week. We have been driving through some beautiful scenery. They have been driving on winding roads for hours. Past simple. I drove to work yesterday. You drove me to the store. He drove his sister to the airport. She drove a rental car on vacation. It drove me crazy when the car wouldn't start. We drove to the mountains last weekend. They drove to the beach for a day trip. Past continuous. I was driving to work when I got a flat tire. You were driving too fast in the rain. He was driving home from work when he heard the news. She was driving her kids to school when she got pulled over. It was driving me crazy that I couldn't find my keys. We were driving through the countryside and enjoying the scenery. They were driving home from a party when they got lost. Past perfect. I had driven to work before the road was closed. You had driven that car before it broke down. He had driven across the country twice. She had driven for Uber for a year. It had driven me nuts that the restaurant was closed. We had driven that route many times before. They had driven to that town last summer. Past perfect continuous. I had been driving for hours before I finally arrived. You had been driving through the night to get home. He had been driving since early that morning. She had been driving for her job for months. It had been driving me crazy for days. We had been driving through the mountains for hours. They had been driving on the same road for days. Future simple. I will drive to work tomorrow. You will drive to the store later. He will drive to the airport to pick up his brother. She will drive her new car to work. It will drive me crazy if we get stuck in traffic. We will drive to the beach next weekend. They will drive to the mountains for a ski trip. Future continuous. I will be driving to work at this time tomorrow. You will be driving through the mountains next week. He will be driving all day to get to his destination. She will be driving in heavy traffic during rush hour. It will be driving me crazy if we hit every red light. We will be driving to the airport to catch an early flight. They will be driving home from vacation. Future perfect. I will have driven for 6 hours by the time I get to my destination. You will have driven 10,000 miles by the end of your road trip. He will have driven a total of 500 miles in one day. She will have driven her car for 5 years by the time she buys a new one. It will have driven me nuts by the end of the day. We will have driven through 10 states by the end of our road trip. They will have driven to every national park in the country. Future perfect continuous. I will have been driving for 6 hours straight by the time I get to my destination. You will have been driving for 12 hours by the time you reach your hotel. He will have been driving for 3 days straight. She will have been driving for her job for 6 months. It will have been driving me crazy for a week. We will have been driving through the desert for days. They will have been driving on the same road for hours.